I've just decided to do something a bit different with my burner to see if it works. I've got this bit of pipe which I'm using as my burn chamber. The siphon nozzle here goes in the end of there, and that burns inside. The idea of this is that we get the burning in this area here, and then introducing the air in here downstream of the main burn. So what I'm trying to do is to try and stop the air from the back blowing the flame out, so that it's burning here, and then we're introducing more air to it here just to hotten up the burn process. This is the outer part of my burner, which this piece here goes inside there, up into the middle, and then I introduce the air through this hole here. So the air then goes around the outside, and then goes down through those holes, those fluted holes in the side of the burn chamber here. So the idea is that the air comes in through here, goes down the side here, inside this tube, through the fluted holes in the side of this one, and then out through this end, so it all comes out through here. Went to the local building supplies and picked up these end caps. These are just caps that go on the end of galvanised pipe for fences, and turned out the inside of that one and this one, and the idea is that that one there, with the big hole turned out, goes over the end of that, and then that slides inside there to centralise it around. This cap here goes on the other end like that, and then the fittings go through there that introduces the air to my siphon nozzle here. So that all sits up inside here. Those holes, one of them's drilled incorrectly, got to weld it up, but those holes there go through, and that's what holds this centralised. And then that, once it's inside the pipe, this piece here slips up inside the pipe and then locates over that like that. So the cold air essentially blows around all those fittings. That'll keep all the fittings and that cool while we until it gets inside and siphons in and enters into this burn chamber, and then the extra air comes in through here. Basically, I didn't have any way other than to just cut slots in this with a 1mm angle grinder blade. So I just cut small slots and then just got the cold chisel and whacked it down. I'll see how it goes. If it doesn't work, I might try open those holes up a bit. I'll heat this up here and then bend these ones out so that there's more of a scoop. I'll put them on an angle, hopefully, as the air flows in through there, as it goes in through that angled hole like that, it'll get a nice vortex happening in the end of the pipe here where the heat's coming out of. This is sort of a pre-assembly stage of the main body of the burner with locating caps on the end of it. So that's what that bit looks like. Now these fence caps, they come with these pressed ridges in the side. The idea is with those, they puts a little bump on the inside here, so when you have it on your fence cap, you drive it on, and that's what locks it onto the top of the post. I want to be able to disassemble this thing quite comfortably, you know, and take it off. So what I've done, I just got in there with a grinder. I've actually ground those ridges off so that I can undo the caps and take it off, basically like this. So it just fits on there, and then I've just put a couple of self-drilling tech screws in there basically, so that I can undo those screws and just take that piece off and disassemble it. So that's it basically. That's the outer body of the burner, or the casing, assembled with the two caps on each end. That's the back end of it. That's the air intake basically, and this is the other end where the burner pipe comes out of. I've modelled this on a canister and burner arrangement off a jet engine basically. This is how they operate. You've got the burner, which you've got your burn chamber inside, and then you've got your air introduced from the outside, which comes from the compressor stage of the jet engine. In this case it's only going to be an air blower inside. so it goes through and burns, and then introduces more air after the burning process or during the burning process, rather than blowing the flame out. Okay, this is my burn tube where the nozzle goes in there. What I've done is I've got a few bits of flat stainless steel and just tacked it and beaten it around there. The idea of this is that as the air comes past this, it already gets that vortex motion up before it goes in through the tubes, just trying to create a bit of a swirl in there. So that's one reason. The other thing is, of course, as this slides inside here, those vanes will now centralise that inside the piece of pipe as it slides in. Ideally, I'd like to stick this in the lathe now and turn that down so that it fitted nice and snug in there, but I don't have access to a lathe that'll take this size pipe, unfortunately. So I'll just have to lightly grind them back and sort of touch them up until it fits. So I've cleaned this up a little bit now, ground it off a little bit and just cleaned it up, just sharpen the ends up to make the airflow a little bit better. Not that it's going to make too much difference on this one, but at the moment I've got it so it just slides down inside there nicely, and that'll centrally locate that end of it, as well as giving it a little bit of a rifling effect with the air to give it a bit of a vortex, hopefully, around there as it enters the tube. Okay, so this is my burn chamber arrangement here. What I've done just at this part here is I've actually welded a couple of tabs on here, just so that this front collar, a couple of tabs on there and there, just so that this front collar, I've drilled a couple of holes in there, so that the front collar can act as the spacing for this to get the tip right in, for the nozzle just to come into the end of it here. I don't want the nozzle in too far, it'll get too hot. So I just want the tip of it in there, and then the rest of the air flowing around the outside will keep that cool down that end. And this will also help locate this in the centre. This is the collar that goes around the front of the tube. I'll assemble that up and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I've assembled that up now. That slides in there, and that's what the whole unit looks like at this stage from the outside, so you'll know what's inside that. As you can see, just a few tech screws in there. Thank God for the guy who invented tech screws. If I was a proper engineering student, of course I'd drill and tap all of those, but hey. Anyway, life's too short. This is the bit as it stands. And I'll go outside where I've got a bit more light, and I'll see if I can, whether you can see down in there, but that's the way it sits in there, with the gap around the outside for the fluting to try and spiral the air as it goes down there. I am hoping that with those bumps on the inside there, I don't know whether you can quite see them there with the sun, but I'm hoping that as the air flows over that, it will create a bit of a Venturi effect, and hopefully draw some of the air in through that. You can just see the bumps inside there. Now there's a bit of swarf hanging off there, but that'll soon burn off. But I'm hoping that as the air flows over those, it'll create a Venturi effect behind that and actually draw air in and sort of be self-priming as far as the air goes. But we'll have to wait and see. So I've now measured up this bit of copper tube here and cut it to length so that it fits in the burner down to this hole here, and then the male nipple for that one, the female nipple, mounts in the end of that piece of pipe and then clamps up on the copper, and hopefully all that slides together and all lines up. So I'll just assemble that and we'll see how we go. Okay, this is the end cap with the air tube running into the actual siphon nozzle there. I'm about to mount that in the outer casing and the burn tube there. Okay, so that's it mounted in there now. The intake here for the waste oil. The air intake here, I'll fit a blower on that end, coming through to the exhaust pipe, or the outlet, the heat outlet. Because I want to be running this mainly on sump oil, I want to preheat the oil. So what I've done is made up a coil here, That's a coil of copper pipe that goes around the tube there and then in there, so the oil runs through that 516 copper tube around the outlet here, and hopefully picks up enough heat to thin it down and to raise its flash point, so that it actually burns a lot cleaner inside the combustion chamber. Okay, that's what it looks like with the coil fitted up, the preheater coil. Coming along. Okay, I've plumbed her up now and got her on a stand. That's basically what it looks like at this stage, but yet to see whether it's going to work, so stand by.